Buck, you're back at 500, preparing for another game this week, this time around in Toronto. How are you feeling after day one of practice?
I thought our energy was a bit down today. I'd like us to pick it up a little bit more tomorrow. I think when you look at the film from last game, a lot of things to still correct. When you look at Toronto on tape, um, they're playing hard. It's always a tough place to go play, but we're looking forward to the opportunity.
Player of the Week awards came out this morning. Nathan's got a Player of the Week honor. What can you say about how he's been playing the last few weeks here?
Yeah, I think just steady growth. I think the guys around him are performing at a high level as well. And when quarterbacks receive that type of honor, it means a lot of guys around him are performing well too.
Keon Hatcher's dialed in this game. I know he had a couple drops a few games back, but perfect 11 for 11. What have you seen from him this season?
Just he's a guy that loves to compete. He's the same guy every day. He comes out here to work. I think a lot of people and even coaches, feed off his energy and, what he brings, not just on the field, but just his, personality and his grit and his want to. It doesn't surprise me at all, that he has, weeks like that. I think if you look back, there's, opportunities to have weeks like that, prior. So, I'm sure that's what he's focusing on and, how can he be the best for his teammates this week?
What concerns you about the penalties that you're still taking, like 12 of them against Toronto?
Yeah, I think when you look at each penalty in its entirety, lack of focus at times, making decisions that don't put our team in a very good position to win. So, everyone's a little bit different, but we have to make better decisions when it comes to penalties for sure.
Is there ever an acceptable penalty that's taken?
I don't know about that. I think when you look at if you're getting into the analytics of things and clock management and those type of things, but we don't talk about that really of acceptable penalties. But certain scenarios for sure. But when we look at penalties, we look at them at how can we as coaches teach them better, and how can we learn from those experiences. And 12 is way too many. I told them after the game, and early this week in practice, we have to make sure that our penalty numbers have to come down, because we can't overcome that wide of margin in taking those penalties.
Toronto hasn't won a lot of football games. Maybe the record's a little bit deceiving when you see how they've lost some of their football games. What do you expect from them? What kind of football team do you see in Toronto?
Very talented team. I think going through some growing pains, just like everybody does when there's change. You look at how they've lost some of those games. Some tough games, close ball games. They're a good football team. It's not, we don't look at records. We're going to look at ourselves, and with the understanding of that team at their place on the road is going to be a battle for sure.
To expand on that point, Toronto, 8 losses, 6 of them by 10 points or less. How much of a test is this for your teams in terms of its maturity level, in terms of following that process? Because they're going to be a tough out.
Yeah, I think you as a coach, you focus on those things. You want to make sure, practices look in the right way. The conversations that are being had are the correct conversations. But as a player, it's about, looking at yourself and, diving into the game plan, studying your opponent, looking at the things that you can do to be successful against them. They are a talented, well-coached, tough football team that plays hard. And, we got to make sure that we're playing our best football.
With the penalties, I know you do push-ups here in practice, and it's made bakes nice and jacked, but, you don't necessarily get into a lot of the physical moments in practice, right, where those things manifest themselves in the game. Usually it's like a procedure or an offside that the players react to. what more can you do in practice to send the message, or in the locker room to send the message that the penalties got?
Well, I mean, we spend a lot of time showing clips, showing tape, things behind closed doors and meetings and things like that to educate our players, right? We're professional football players. These guys do amazing things, on the field. So when things happen at that speed and quickness, they're able to make the right decision. So we got to keep harping on that and educating, our players on the proper way to finish things, the proper way to do things.
One more from me. I want to go back to Nathan. Is there anything that surprised you about him during the last few months that you've been working with him?
I think it's just more, learning each other. He's I think just really getting more and more comfortable with his guys around him. And you can see that confidence build and that trust amongst the guys. So, yeah, I've seen a side of Nathan that is pretty fun, and we're enjoying the work, and we're looking to grow, and I think he's excited about the process of each week and attacking a new opponent, a new goal, and finding ways to win.
Look, has anything about Keon surprised you? I mean, coming in this year and seeing him up close as opposed to pre-scouting him.
Yeah, on the football field, what kind of player he is, but just to get to know him as a person and just seeing the way that he leads, and really watching the passion that he has for this game of football and how he is around his teammates. Really grown fond of the type of person he is, and it's easy to see how that translates to the football field. If you're around him enough and you spend time with him and you watch him go out there and perform on game day, it's pretty easy to connect the dots on why he's having the success and why he's had the success that he's had.